Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World. I'm Anna Kalczyńska. Highly productive talks moving the peace deal in the right direction. That's how U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio commented on the latest round of negotiations in Geneva, taken from the Witkoff Dmitriev level. What onerous provisions from the initial plan have been negotiated away by the Europeans has yet to be revealed, but hope is there. To help us unpack what these negotiations mean and what to watch for next, we're joined today by a leading expert on U.S.-Ukraine relations, Steve Moore, founder of Ukraine Freedom Project. Steve, thank you so much for coming to the studio.
Great to be here in snowy Warsaw.
Exactly. It's snowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
My goodness. So from this joint statement issued by the United States, by the White House office, we take that the so-called peace plan is indeed a living document. Right.
I wish it were a dead document.
Exactly. Well, both sides agreed the consultations showed progress towards aligning positions. The parties agreed to continue intensive work on joint proposals in the next days, and also they agree to welcome and consult the European partners in it, which is quite a significant change, isn't it, from the basis plan. So how important is the European input here?
Europe needs to get in the game, and they need to get in the game a whole bunch of different ways. You've got, one of my favorite things to do here at TVP World is to beat up on Belgium because they've got $170 billion worth of frozen Russian assets that they could change the course of the war tomorrow, but all they're doing is taxing it. They've taxed it to the tune of $3 billion. Why would they want to give that up? So, I think it's important that the Europeans get involved in the negotiations. It's also important that the Europeans pretend like they're in a war. And, again, back to Belgium, they spend enough on liquid natural gas from Russia every day to fund 71 Shahed drones, which Putin sends into Ukraine to kill Ukrainian civilians.
Unfortunately, we know that very well, as Swedish Minister for Foreign Affairs lately rightly pointed out. Indeed, this calculus is still negative for Europe, and it's quite a hypocritical posture. That's true. Nevertheless, the Europeans are involved. They must be taken into account. So we've heard Johann Wadephul, the German Minister for Foreign Affairs, who also claimed that the Geneva talks were very substantial and they moved the peace talks in the right direction. But, no consulting the Europeans here is very a negative sign. Why would the Americans be interested in siding Europeans away?
Yeah, well, it would be easy for these talks to be productive because if that 28-point, I call it the 28-point plan for Putin to invade Europe. And so anything that builds on that makes that a better document is very productive. And, you've got to look at the mechanism of U.S. foreign policy right now. You've got Steve Witkoff, and Steve Witkoff is someone that Trump trusts very strongly. They've known each other since 1986. They've been through a lot of ups and downs as friends, and and that sort of thing. And Trump views Witkoff as a deal maker, like he is, not as good as him, of course, but, a deal maker on par with him. So that's why he has this involved. But Witkoff's main shortcoming is he has no ability to critically analyze anything coming out of the mouth of someone with a Russian accent who he has just met. So that's the problem. He just thinks, oh, yeah, these guys are great. In my understanding, a few weeks ago, he says, "Hey, Don, I think I got something going with this peace plan with the Russians, so I'm going to go get you a peace deal with these Russians." And Donald Trump, no one's ever said that he is a details guy. So he's like, "Hey, all right, Witkoff, go get him." And so off Witkoff goes to Miami to sip pina coladas on a rooftop pool bar with Dmitriev. And that's how we got to where we are now.
Is it really that simple? That we're balancing between the two factions, between Marco Rubio and Steve Witkoff on the other side?
Yeah, so here's the shorthand for Trump's foreign policy. Witkoff screws it up. Marco Rubio cleans it up. And, Marco Rubio's a pro. I've only met him a few times. I didn't work with him when I was in D.C., but I have a lot of friends who know him well. And the guy is a foreign policy pro. And so he knows what's going on. And my understanding is that Rubio learned about this peace deal by reading it in Axios like the rest of us did. So that's what we're doing. And not only, this is not just about Ukraine. It's about Poland, and it's about the Baltic states, the Nordic states. It's about all of Eastern Europe. And frankly, China and Russia are so close together, working hand in hand. This is a global war, and we are teetering on the brink of all sorts of nonsense.
Right, but since you mentioned Poland, the Article 9 of this 28-point plan for invading Europe, as you put it, you put it, not me. It provides clearly that no American fighter jets on Polish soil, only European ones. So that would rearrange the security architecture in the region. Is this in unison with American interests?
Yeah. So I look at this big picture. In the big picture, and the big picture is that China, Russia, Iran, what's left of Iran, and North Korea, and all the hangers-on like Hamas and the Venezuelans, and all the bad guys are working together. And at some point, it's going to get really ugly. Xi Jinping said at some point, in 2027, he wants to be able to go into Taiwan. North Korea is sending soldiers to Russia to send them in Ukraine to get them combat readiness. So I feel we're in a global war, and Europe needs to step up, because if we are in this sort of a war right now, and there's shooting wars in the Middle East and in Europe, and the rest of us are in an information war. And if it gets hotter than this, we're going to need Europe's arsenal. So what more can Europe do? I mean, we are providing for Ukraine. We are the main sponsor of its war effort. We are ramping up our security capabilities. What else can we do? Yeah. Again, stop. And I'm not talking to Poland when I'm saying this. You know who I'm talking about.
Poland is not to blame.
Yeah.
In this respect.
Belgium, France, Spain. When I go back to the States and I talk to everyday people, conservatives, Christians, Republicans that I speak to, it's really hard to explain. Now, why are they funding both sides of the war? Again, there's a lot of Western European countries that don't want to send what they need to send to Ukraine, but they're willing to buy liquid natural gas from Russia, and the amount they're buying is going up. So it's really difficult to take, even look, you got the Trump White House, which is chaotic, but normal folks on the street in America are and they're sending how much to fund Putin's war machine? So that is true, but on the other hand, Steve, we're talking about easing right now the sanctions on Russia. Should this plan enter into force? Oh yeah, I'm with you. That's a really bad idea. And the thing is, again, Trump gets information from certain places, and he doesn't realize how effective these sanctions are against Russia. And so Russia's economy is crashing. The interest rates are 20%, and it's really it takes a lot of oil to fund this kind of army. The death benefits for soldiers in Ukraine is past $100,000, and these soldiers are getting paid an exorbitant amount of money to go into what is a meat grinder in Ukraine. So they're playing the lottery, and it's expensive if they, I don't know if you win, but so that's expensive. And Putin, if he doesn't have to pay those personnel costs, he's just going to make more drones, make more missiles, more tanks. Stephen, thank you so much for coming to the studio. It's always a pleasure to really fun. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Stephen Moore, founder of Ukrainian Freedom Project, has been our guest today. And thank you so much for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned to TVP World for more.